Hello and welcome to Property Investment Blueprint Podcast. On today's Property Investment Blueprint Podcast, I am here with Andrea Harber. A few years ago, Andrea was battling with cancer, going in and out of treatment, and defies all odds, continue her property investment journey. And I've now built a massive portfolio throughout the UK and now doing absolutely amazing. Not just that, she's also got 3 children that she looks after while doing her property investment. So thank you so much for actually joining the Property Investment Blueprint podcast today. And before we get started, how are you, Andrea?
Yeah, I'm doing really well at the moment. Health-wise, everything's sort of at a level, So I still have 3 monthly scans and 3 weekly treatments, and around that, I sort of work around that. So it's good that I'm able to run my property business around my health, because I think if I had a 9-to-5 job, it would be very difficult with the amount of hospital appointments and other things that I need to do around a regular 9-to-5 job. So for me, it actually works really well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we wish you the absolute best of luck in your treatment. I know you are a strong lady. You would literally battle it and you will definitely defeat it. So yes, if there's anything we could do from our end, definitely get in touch. We'll be able to help. So the story isn't good unless people know where you came from and how you started your property investment journey. Tell our audience how you started and scale your property business to buy multiple properties in a year.
So basically, I went to one of crash courses a few years ago, and on that course, I already had one property that I rented out, which was actually my family home. And at the time, I decided that it would be a really good idea to rent where I live and sell my other home where I was living at the time, to use that money to reinvest into other properties. So we kind of decided at the time to take the plunge, sell our family home, move to rented accommodation, invest that money into, I did like a buy refurbish, refinance. I bought a property in Blackpool and another property that I just remortgaged and kind of pulled all the money out. And I've kind of been doing that ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worked really well. It's been 3 years since I did that. And now we've kind of reached a stage where we're doing a development at the moment where we've decided we're actually going to move into it. So it's kind of gone full circle where we're actually going to be not renting anymore, and moving into a home that will actually be ours with the money that we've made and stuff. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, but worth it.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for sharing that with us. I know everybody have their own little sort of reason why they started to do whatever they're doing now. I would like to contrast that into properties. What was the reason you decided to literally ignore all the other business strategies out there and decided to actually choose property as an investment vehicle you want to pursue?
I think actually what started it and was back in 2011. I was pregnant with my daughter, and we needed to sell our house because it wasn't big enough to move in. So we managed to remortgage that particular property and buy somewhere else. And in the 6 years of between those times, both houses had, well, our house that we rented out had gone up so much in value at the time, we would have almost been able to pay off the mortgage in 6 years to the house that we were then living in. So I thought at that point, property is a really good investment because, prices rise, you earn an income off the rental. So I decided to try and do it on a more professional level. And that's when I started, doing a bit of property training, learning a bit more about different strategies. So yeah, that's kind of where the idea came from, and it's just sort of progressed from there. So yeah, that's that's how it started.
Wow.
But yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for that. That is absolutely amazing, because obviously everybody has that little reason why they do it, because maybe for you, you wanted a bigger place. So you sold the property. Then you realize, actually, I can literally do this by buying and selling, or by actually buying and holding it. So now you are in the property game. You've bought so many properties, and you're still buying properties. So what sort of strategies are you actually predominantly doing currently in your property investment journey?
Well, currently I'm doing I bought a property to actually sell on as a refurb and sell on, but we've actually decided to move into it. And now I'm wanting to get more into the refurb refinance, because I've reached a stage where I don't really want to have loads of rental properties, because as much as it's a great income, it can also be, a bit of a hassle. Whereas I think for health reasons, I would rather work on a project for 6 months, make my money and then move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Because I've got quite a few rental properties now. They're all doing really well. It doesn't come without its problems. I'm not going to paint a amazing picture that everything's all wonderful. You have issues with tenants every now and again. Things cost money to replace and upkeep of these properties. So it does have its downfalls. However, it also has a lot of benefits. And I always describe it as, people say, oh, how can you do that? It just sounds like so much hassle. And I always say, well, not as much hassle as going to work every day 9 till 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it gives me the freedom, the flexibility. If I want to meet friends for lunch, I can work around things. So it does have its advantages, but yeah, there are disadvantages, like there is with anything. But it's just having that, I don't know. For me, I like the flexibility.
Yeah. You've got the freedom to do what you want, the time and when you want to do it. And compare, if you're working for someone, you are at that place 9 to 5, or sometimes 9 to 6 or 9 to 7, I used to do. So it gives you that flexibility, not just to hang around with friends or go and do what you want. You can spend more time with your family as well, which is priceless, which you would not get if you're working for someone else. So looking at the buy, refurbish and refinance strategy, how have you been able to actually pinpoint which property would either be able to generate you a nice lump sum of profit, or how would you be able to pinpoint a property that you could actually keep and make a nice residual income from?
Well, I think it's about doing research. If you go on Rightmove and you see a property that stands out, meaning one that might need work doing to it, one that might have a bit of land next to it where you could potentially build on and add value that way. And then you go on to sold prices in that road. You click down the link, you see what others have sold for in that road. So it gives you an idea of, once refurbished, how much they would potentially sell for. There's lots of websites now like Zoopla and I think it's like Price Move. I can't remember the name of the other one, but it gives you a good indication of how much properties do sell for. So then you can work your figures out using those aspects of it. And and it can lead you to actually, you could make profit on it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And as you know, property investment it is ever changing, and you're doing absolutely amazing. You buy multiple properties within the property investment journey you've started recently. What would you say to someone who's just about to start their property investment journey, do not really know where to start or what to do?
I would say, choose an area, do lots of research in that area, get an idea of what's around, what developments they're doing. Like, say, for instance, I bought a property in Blackpool a few years ago, and the reason being, they're doing a lot of regeneration in that area. They're spending millions and millions, and I know that Yeah, at the moment, it's a very, you can get a property there. It's one of the lowest price property areas in the north. However, prices are rising there, and because of all the regeneration they're putting into the area, so things like that you can do research on. I would also, I wouldn't have a problem with sourcing property, not sourcing, but using sources to find good properties, but also research what the sources find you, because I think there's a lot of sources out there that are starting off at the moment, and just because they're compliant doesn't necessarily mean that they're finding the best deal.
Yeah.
So I would try and do some research if you are going to use a sourcer. And yeah, I guess, just doing lots of research on whatever you choose to buy.
Yeah, absolutely. I really, really support you on that. You have to do your due diligence. I am a source. My company do sourcing as well. I always tell the people I send my deals that, tell them, listen, if I send you a deal, you have to go and analyze it.
Yeah, of
don't
course.
Rely
you
on
can't
my
just
figures.
take someone's word for it.
Don't take my word for it. But I don't you know me, but you have to go now, because I've seen so many people get burned from sources, only relying with the sources in information. So, and again, the research works really well. You go and do your research. If the figures adds up, even if the source is charging £5,000, end of the day you're making money out of it. It's better sort of investment, as well as time, if you haven't got the time to go and do your negotiation and all that sort of thing. So I think going down that route is also important. And again, also, if you're going out there looking at yourself, you will learn and understand the investment area a lot more better than someone who just buying deals from sources. So and again, doing that research also help. The other thing also I think would also help is to surround yourself with people that are doing exactly what you want to do. Right? Ideally, it's people that are doing better than you, right? Because when I start my property investment journey, that's what I did. I surround myself with people that are way over my sort of reach. So I surround myself with those people who tend to sometimes take them for dinner, take them for a cup of coffee, be friend with them.
Of course.
That was the way I started learning, advancing myself to take me to the next level. And the other thing I did after that, or whilst I was doing that, it's also, as you said, reading books, going to property event, learning, educate myself, to get me into that mindset. Because most of these things that we do is really mindset. I know the skills is there, but the mindset also helps you a lot more, especially if you started a project, you end up seeing other problems in it. If you haven't got that mindset or that get stuff done, you kind of thinking, oh, probably this is not really for me. You then walk away from it. So as a buy, refurbish, and refinance investor, what sort of skills do you reckon ones need to get to go into buy, refurbish, and refinance?
What skills? Well, I just think it just goes back to I just think it goes back to doing research. Obviously now at the moment, building supplies have increased, massively. So it's about keeping present with what's going on with with expenses, building supplies, what rents are doing, because rents are currently, if you're buying a property to potentially not, refurbish but then rent out, you need to know what the rents are, because they're always changing as well. So it just always goes back to research, I guess.
Okay, all right, that's good. Thanks very much for that. And then obviously keeping yourself updated by looking at the rental market, that would also help. I know you are a very busy person, Andrea. I was just wondering, you've got children, obviously you have your husband and you've got other family members. How will you actually scale your business whilst looking after all those sort of aspects of your life?
Well, my daughter has started to take an interest in property. She recently did one of Samuel's courses, really enjoyed it, and she wants to get into rents and start off that way. And she's learnt quite a lot. And I guess, moving forward as time goes on, she will take more of an interest in our company and our business and running things as time goes on, hopefully. You know, my husband, he still works, but you know, he's, you know, takes an interest as well, and has always been really supportive in anything. Like, you know, I've kindly been the one to sort of run it and manage it, but he's, you know, whatever decisions I've ever made, he's always been really supportive. Trusts my judgment on houses that we go with and buy and stuff. So it's just having a supportive network around you as well, because I think if you've got people around you that are questioning everything you're doing, then you know, maybe start doubting yourself, whether you're able to do it, whether you can, you know, scale things up, as you say. So I think, yeah, having a supportive network around you definitely helps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know people are talking a lot about Blackpool. Some people don't want to touch Blackpool. Some people are saying it's really not a good investment area. So now you've bought a property in Blackpool. So could you tell us a bit about that property and also what you think the market is like in that area?
So yeah, the property that I've got there is it's quite a large building. It's got 7 converted flats in it, 1 and 2 bedroom flats, and I bought it back in 2000. I think the end of 2018 I bought it. And it rents really well. There is a real high rental demand in Blackpool, and there's also a very good demand for Airbnbs in Blackpool, because I know quite a few people that run Airbnbs there, and they do really well from it. It's a bit of an all year round profit, because they have lots going on there throughout the whole year. They have stag and hen parties, they have strictly on you know, around Christmas time. There's always a lot of people that stays in their Airbnb. So my next move as well would be to try and buy another property there that's suitable for Airbnb. My one that I've got currently isn't, because it's all sort of residential, one big building. So I think it would be unfair to my tenants to try and use one of the flats as an Airbnb. But I think yeah, that's a good area for various things, like for renting. You know, the yields are high there for the, you know, with the property prices that you get, buy them so cheap, yet the rental yields are a lot higher than they are obviously in the south. So yeah, I think it's a good area, and I think as the time has gone on, I've built up quite a few people that I can get to help me with property there. You know, one letting agent and lots of builders and stuff. So you know, and that, you know, people are always not keen on investing in areas that are quite far away from their house. But I think when you build up a network of people that can support you in that area, builders, property management teams, then it doesn't really matter where the house is. Yeah,
you're absolutely right with that one. So this is what I tell people: power team or your team members are key, because once you've got these people, properties, most of us, for me, I don't even know most of the words or what the materials are like doing properties. Like, I've been doing this for about maybe 7 years plus. But once you've got the right power team or the right people to work with, they will tell you exactly what you need, and then you can then execute it. So again, it's important if you're doing buy, refurbish, and refinance properties, to get a strong power team, right? Power team is what gets you to where you're going, because you need these people to work together or to help you pull everything together and then have your property ready. It's like basically a pilot. You are like a pilot. You work with the flight attendants. You work with the flight controllers and everybody to be able to land that flight safely. So for me personally, what I tell the people I work with is basically, if the figures adds up, it's a good area. You're not going with your heart. You're going with your head. Invest, right? Most of the properties I buy are literally miles away from me, right? But I'm able to have power team in all those areas. So whenever I buy a property, I've got my builders to actually do the works for me there, because I have a renovation company now that literally plotted throughout the country. So again, these are the little things someone could do, and to start it and get your power team ready for your first project. Now, once you've got that first project, you get these people, you work with these people, you learn to work with them. That way, you would always use them to your future project, so that then you'll be able to use them to another project. Okay, so you've been able to buy so many buy, refurbish, and refinance property deals. How have you been able to buy these properties, do them up at discount? So what are the little things that you've used to be able to secure these properties at discount?
Well, I haven't bought loads, I'll be honest with you, because I think they are quite difficult sometimes to come by, because as you say, you know, at the moment there's so many people going after the same property, there's so many people wanting to do the same thing, so the profit margins can be quite difficult to achieve. So but sometimes, you know, you can be quite lucky. But I think one of them was particularly building up good relationships with estate agents, knowing that, you know, you're not going to mess them around once you've agreed a sale and they're happy to work with you. Yeah, I think one of the good things is having a good relationship with estate agents and knowing that you're serious about buying a property that you're looking at.
Yeah,
I think that is definitely a big benefit, rather than just being, you know, another person, you know, being in touch with them constantly, just building up relationships. So if anything comes on that, you know, would interest you, then at least you're the first person that they would call.
Yeah, so I built that relationship with lots of estate agencies myself, as well as auctioneers. So once they've got a good deal, they will tell me before the deals comes on. So I've got that advantage to either buy it before the auction or during the auction, or probably if it doesn't sell after the auction. So it gives you that sort of leeway or leverage for you to be able to buy these properties. And now, because there are lots of discounted properties out there, what we tend to do also, we look for properties that we can add value to, significant value. Maybe we look for properties that nobody wants to buy, maybe because it's got structural issues, for example, or it's been vacant for a very long time. We go in with a different mindset, looking at the property in a different perspective, right? Saying, okay, if I buy this property, what sort of use can I do to it? For example, the property you bought in Blackpool, I'm not sure whether it's already 7-bedroom flat, but what I would do in properties like that, I'll look at it. Can I convert it into a flat? Can I do it as a HMO? Can I have an extension on the side of the property or back of the property? Can I have a loft conversion from it? If there's a garage, can I extend it to that garage, double floor? And again, doing these little things, or this sort of thinking about it that way, that's what gets you to be able to recycle some, if not all of your money, at least some of your money. Is actually thinking outside of the box. There's so many property investors right now thinking, okay, I can buy a house, fit a new kitchen, a bathroom, remortgage, pull all my investment out. That may be maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. With the
you can't do that now.
Now you can't. You have to add that value, because you have to force the appreciation up. So this is the reason why when I go to an agent, I tell them, listen, if the properties think of me, right? These are the sort of properties I want to buy, okay? But the properties that nobody buy, I'll give an example. Bought a property somewhere in South Wales. It was a property that had a tiny bit of a structural issue, right? I went and see the property with about maybe 15 or 20 people, right? Everybody, as soon as they saw that crack, they're thinking, no way I'm going to buy this property. So I knew it was in a subsidence. I knew the lintel from that window has gave up. So hence the reason why that crack was. So then I put an offer on that deal. The agent happy to accept the offer. Landlord, homeowner was happy. Bought it, get my structural surveyor to come around and have a look at the property. He said to me, Rahim, you don't really need to do anything in it, because there's no movement in the property. If you hold the lintel, if you can change that lintel, stitch it back up, we're all good to go. So I was able to buy that property significantly below market value. I was able to convert that property also from a 2-bedroom house to a 4-bedroom HMO. Right.
Oh, okay.
So these are the little things. If you're starting your property investment journey, you need to be thinking about. Again, it's all about knowing what you know, or hanging around with people that can tell you what you could achieve from properties like this. So I guess you do exactly the same thing, because I've seen how you had an extension in one of your properties. I don't know if that is Blackpool or Berkshire. I'm not sure.
No, yeah, that one was actually in Buckinghamshire.
Buckinghamshire. So how did you convert that property? What did you convert it into?
Well, with that one, I bought it with a view because it was quite a large piece of, land at the side, enough to build probably a 3-bedroom house.
Yeah.
And I bought it with a view to hopefully do that. But unfortunately, I put in planning permission and it got refused. So I knew that obviously if that got refused, then I could then just do a double-story side extension and then turn it into a HMO, because that particular area is quite, it's about 2 miles from a very, very affluent area where house prices are really high and people can't really afford to live in that area. So this is kind of the next town, but there's not really any HMOs in this next town. So I knew that it'd be a really good rental area for people that can't live in Marlow effectively. So so that's what, so once I didn't get planning to build the house, I thought, well, plan B, and this is the other thing, I think it's good to have different, different strategies, that if this doesn't work, then you can fall back on that. If that doesn't work, then you can fall back on another. So that's what I did in the end. So we did a double-story side extension, and then I refinanced that and pulled the majority of my money out.
Well done.
And went again. So again, it doubled in value by me adding 100,000 to the development. It added 250,000 to the value.
Wow.
So it was worth doing, and it's rented really well ever since. Really nice tenants in there, and it's a really good house.
Fantastic. So this is about you thinking outside of the box, basically converting it to converting it from a family home to a HMO, which is basically doesn't just give you great cash flow, it also forces the appreciation significantly. Plus, they have a massive garden that they will do whatever they actually want to do. So, which is absolutely amazing. The other question I wanted to ask you also, I've been to so many property events, so many property courses, right? We don't see lots of females involved in this industry. So what advice do you have for females that are thinking about investing in a male-dominated industry?
I really do not think it makes any difference at all. I don't think people have any issues with dealing with women over men. I've never found any disadvantage to that. Then why not pursue it? I don't think it makes any difference whether you're male or female, whether it's a more male-dominated area to get into. It makes no difference. It never has to me anyway.
Okay, brilliant. So that is a good answer, and also it's very good that you're thinking about it that way, right? Because lots of people get deterred when they see so many males in one industry, thinking, oh, there's no room for them. All I would say basically, just have the confidence. You're no different to a male. We're exactly the same people. You just have to have that motivation, ambition, and literally go out there and do it yourself. So that is the way, to be honest, to be able to get into the property sort of industry. I know you have been working really, really hard. You've done absolutely amazing. I've looked at your story. I've watched everything you've done. How have you been able to battle cancer and actually investing in property?
I think, as I said to you before, I think once I was diagnosed back in December 17, it actually just gave me the kick that I probably needed to think, well, really need to do something. Now, if you're going to do something, you need to do it. With people with just sort of normal health, they think, oh, I'll put it off, or maybe I'll do that next year, or I'll get this out the way, I'll do that, I'll do this first. And, they always have a bit of an excuse as to, do something that they want to pursue later. And then sometimes that later never comes. Yeah. I think when you're diagnosed with quite a serious illness, one thing that you may not necessarily have is time. So it gives you that advantage to accelerate to actually, I will do this, I will do that. And it gives you the kick that you need.
Well done for actually doing that. I'm truly inspired by that, because if you, what I'm saying is, if you've been able to do things like this whilst investing in property and looking after your children as well,
Yeah.
and I think with the right mindset, again, with the support you said with your husband, I think anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Anyone
And
can do it.
I think also, I think for me, I don't want to dwell on my, it's so consuming, my illness anyway, because, my life is full of hospital appointments, treatments, all scans, there's always something going on. And I don't want to completely consume my life in health, in thinking about my health constantly, although it's obviously always there and it never really goes away once you've got a awful diagnosis. But with property, it just gives me a focus and something else to think of, and I like to keep busy. Just an example, like last week I was at the hospital having my 3-weekly infusion, and I was there ordering bathrooms for the development. So I'm there literally choosing which showers I want, which bathrooms I want, and answering phone calls to builders and doing things like that while I'm having my treatment.
Wow.
And because I just think sometimes I haven't got time for cancer.
Wow.
I haven't got time, because I'm having to do other things. And it is crazy when you think about it, because there's other people there and they're just getting on with their treatment. But I use it actually as a time. I'm usually there for about 3.5 hours, and I use it for a time to actually catch up on my emails, chase things that I need to do and sort out. And I'm sort of doubling up with having treatment and working at the same
Wow.
time.
Wow.
So sometimes it makes me tired, and it is a bit difficult to do that. But majority of the time I'm okay, and I can, do things that I need to do.
Well done, well done, really, really
Yeah.
well done. I like that energy. I like it. So I know
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, you nearly have over £1 million property portfolio. So I know
Yeah.
it might not be all your money. How were you able to raise finances to actually get you to acquire over £1 million property portfolio?
Well, I've used investors before, and then just pay them like a percentage of whenever we've done something before, pay a percentage back or a monthly income from that investment. And you can use family members as well as outside people. It just depends. But I think it's also important. A lot of people that they're so focused on borrowing money from someone and trying to do an investment, that they also need to think about actually what's in it for them. Because just for instance, I have a friend who they did an investment with their parents.
Yeah.
And we were going through the figures the other day, and it's turning out that actually the only person that's benefiting from this investment is her parents. They're not making any money from it at all.
Wow.
Because what they've done is they've not structured it properly, where her husband's doing all the work on the development. They're doing like a buy refurbish, and then they're going to sell it on, but he's not factored in any of his labor costs. So he's basically been working for the last 6 months for nothing.
Wow.
So I think people can be so focused on, I'm getting this money from an investor, but they're not actually working out the figures properly, and they're not making any money.
Yeah.
So I think it's whatever deal that anyone puts together is really scrutinizing how it's going to work for both parties, because otherwise it's just not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what we do basically when we're analyzing our deals, we just don't include the refurbishment cost, right? We even include the travel time or the journey, how we manage the project. Okay. Even if you're gonna buy lunch, how much is the estimate of buying lunch? Every single penny we count it, put it into context to understand whether this deal would be a viable deal. Because at the end of the day, you're there to actually make money, right? At the same time, provide accommodation. It's not about you doing, if it's not taking his time into consideration, that's the time he could have invested either doing his own job or actually spending time with his family. So again, every single time you spend in your project, you need to take that into financial account, because obviously
Yeah,
if you don't, the taxman would have to take it on. Because
yeah,
if you don't include all your expenses, guess what? Maybe your profit would go up, but most of it would go in tax as well. But if you include all these expenses there, you would either know whether that deal is a viable deal or not. So what we normally do also is to bring all that in kind of a documentation format. So the investor would see how much we're going to be spending, how much money we'll be spending in each and every aspect of the business, and look at the fine details, looking at the net profit or whatever figure is, for them to understand that, listen, if you come in, despite us having all this sort of all these expenses, you're still going to get your return on your investment. So touching on that then, are your investors coming on board as lenders, or they're coming on as a joint venture partners?
It's just been different. One particular deal, they just earn a monthly income from the money that they've invested in one of the properties.
Yeah.
Another one will be a 50-50 split by the end of it. So it just depends on, each deal is different, and you can't just have a blanket deal across the board. It needs to be tailored to each and individual house that you buy or whatever you're doing. So it's really important, I think, to work out them figures from the offset, because if you're just scaling over it and kind of giving rough estimates, then as yourself, you think something's going to cost something, it ends up costing sometimes to double, say, or the time scales aren't what you thought they would be, and very quickly your profit can be out the window. So it's just factoring all those uneventful those things that may happen along the way, and just making sure that there's enough in it for both parties to make a profit.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
And that's why I do hear of, you see these programs, Homes Under the Hammer.
Yeah.
And at the end of it you hear, they've made like 15,000 profit or 10,000. For me, that would be too risky. I wouldn't want to go into a deal where I make thinking, by the end of it I'm going to make £10,000 profit, because I just think there's so many things that can escalate along the way with building materials and things that you've not factored in, and then very quickly your profit's wiped out.
Yeah.
So I would want a lot more profit margin to allow for those problems, and then at least you're left with a good amount by the end of it.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense. For us, what our margin would be 20, anything over 20k, our minimum profit should be 20k. If we're not making 20k in a project, we might as well walk away, purely for the fact you're talking about materials there and some of the jobs, some of the actual renovation costs that you may not have taken into consideration. Your enthusiasm, energy is what draws me to you. When I watched your videos online, what really keep you going without losing that energy and enthusiasm?
I think, to be honest, it's just something I've always been interested in.
Yeah.
I've always just been interested in property, houses. As I say, a few years ago I used to work part-time as an estate agent. I loved talking to people, meeting people, talking about if they were looking for an investment or like a buy to let. I'd love advising them, because I had quite a lot of knowledge. I've read a lot of books, so I could advise a lot of people, and I liked that. So I think if you're just naturally passionate about something, you are going to enjoy it. And for me, it's not really like a job, it's just a passion. And I enjoy I suppose the entrepreneurial side of me. I've always been that way. From a young age I used to buy things and sell things on, and it's just kind of within. I think it, that is built within a person from a young age. When I was young I used to buy sweets from a sweet shop and sell them to my brothers for more money.
I love that.
Because we lived so far away from a shop, I'd spend all my pocket money and buy all these sweets and then sell them to them for double, and then make more and things like that. So I've always done crazy things just to make money, and then it's just sort of progressed as I've got older.
Such an entrepreneur, aren't you? Buying a suit from the corner shop and then sell it to your
Yeah,
brother. What a way to make profit.
yeah. So, but yeah, so I've always done things like that, and
Fantastic.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's just fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Last question was basically before we get to quick fire round question was in the property investment world, business world, social media, and society, I see in this first world, there is a problem of overwhelm. So many social media platforms, everything is getting thrown at you. And people buying expensive cars, showing they're buying nice apartment or nice house. They're showing lavish life online. How do you deal with overwhelms? Because seeing all these things sometimes can distract you from what you are doing. So how are you being able to actually stay focused and ignore all the noises on social media?
I think for me, I think you just kind of got to follow what you're doing and concentrate on your own journey and your own development. And yeah, you can look up look at what other people are doing and think, oh, I could be doing so much better. We can all do so much better. That there's always room to improve. But I think for me, in fact, I had a conversation with my daughter the other day after she come off, one of the courses, and she was like, "Oh, this person's doing this, and they're doing amazing, and Mum, I think you should be doing a bit more." And for me, I'm doing as much as I want to do.
Yeah.
I'm doing, I think there's always, improvements that you can make, and do 100 things. But I think for me, it's just having that work-life balance. I want to be able to enjoy my time, enjoy time with my family, have holidays. And, I don't want it to be all about work and all about trying to make money. And, you're so focused on trying to make money and have all these, lavish things, or to strive to have those lavish things, that you forget actually what's important. And, for me, what's important is having, trying to maintain good health, not be too stressed out. I don't want to be taking on so much that I'm stressed and it starts affecting my health. So those kind of things don't bother me. It doesn't bother me what other people have got. I'm not a jealous person. I always think, it's amazing if someone's doing well. I think, it's brilliant. I don't compare myself to other people. I think you can just follow and focus on what you're doing rather than be worrying about other people.
Absolutely, I like that. It's all about, as long as you're doing better today than yesterday,
of course.
you are doing amazing. It's not about competing with someone. Everybody has their own unique journey. Everybody has their own path. So I totally recommend. I totally understand that, because there's so many people ringing me today. They're doing rent to rent. The next day they're doing rent to service accommodation. The other they're doing buy refurbished and refinance. The other time they're calling about sourcing deals. So it's like, I'm confused myself. So they could not even close any deals because there's so many stuff. They're getting distracted and all that sort of thing. It's about focus. Once you focus in what you're doing, I'm pretty sure you would achieve a lot more than all the people are trying to do everything else. So I do relate to that. Quick fire round question. Okay, nice, short and crispy. What was the worst advice you remember receiving?
Oh, from when we bought our first house in Slough, my mum said to me, "I think you're making a big mistake. It's a really rough area. I don't think you should buy it." I went against her advice. I bought the house, and in 6 years later, the house doubled in price. So that was the worst advice I got, but luckily I didn't accept it.
Right. I like that one, because our parents always try to protect us. It's not like they don't like us. They just want to have the kind of safe sort of way of protecting you to ensure you don't lose your money. Hence the reason why they were saying that. Actually, to me, what I look at, basically, the one that's advising me, whether they are actually doing what I intend to do. Right. If they've got lots of houses, they have advised me not to buy that house, then I'll consider the advice. But if they have not bought a house, or they're not doing it as a business, I'd rather go with someone who's actually doing it. So I like that, So best advice you remember receiving?
The best advice, I guess for me, rent where you live. So that kind of really accelerated my journey and sort of taking the plunge and using that money to invest in some really good deals. So I think for me, that was the best bit of advice that I received that really helped me push me forward.
Fantastic. Who is your favorite sports star, if you've got one?
To be honest, I'm not really into sports.
Yeah.
So I think it would be unfair to answer that question.
Okay. Looking back at your 18-year self, what would you have done differently?
I think for me would have been when I was probably about 27. I sold a flat to my brother
Yeah.
that he now rents out, and he does really well from it.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't really need to sell it, so I wish I kept that.
Right. Okay. What was your inspiration growing up?
I think it was probably my family, that they always used to do things, sell things to make money, and my dad was quite entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it was just sort of being within that family that sort of always had money and would make money.
Your biggest regret?
Biggest regret. um
That's a good one.
well, I don't really have regrets as such. I
Yeah.
think on a personal level, um, I would say I'm slightly regret probably when I was diagnosed with cancer not immediately having chemo, because it's kind of led me to sort of further sort of further cancer, which I think if I would have had chemo in the first place, I probably wouldn't be in the position I am now health wise. But it's hard to know at that time whether it was the right or wrong choice. But
Yeah.
I guess that's one regret maybe I have.
Okay. Who is or was your role model growing up?
My role model growing up was, I guess, it was my brothers. I had three brothers, two in particularly. They sort of was very entrepreneurial, and I guess I kind of learned a lot from them. And yeah, I guess they were my role models.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us. Is there something you believe that lots of people disagree with you?
Um, that's a really good question.
Mhm.
I believe that, I think there's I don't know. I guess there's no right or wrong answer with that.
No.
I just think until people have something that happens in their life, I think people take life for granted. A lot of people, until something serious happens to them, they take life for granted. And I think one thing I believe is I value life a lot more since my diagnosis than I did before. I appreciate every day. I appreciate, the little things, so much more than I did. So I guess for me, yeah, I guess that's my answer really. I just appreciate more than what other people appreciate and believe
Fantastic.
to be
What,
important.
yeah, what is the best book you ever read or listen to?
I think one of the best books for me was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, probably the same for a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And another one was Life Leverage by Rob Moore.
Okay. Yeah.
Which teaches you that the idea of that book is to kind of, rather than try and do everything yourself, is to get other people to do the things that you don't necessarily need to do, which enables you to pursue further in whatever you're doing. I used to try and do everything myself, whereas now I don't have a problem with getting other people to do other things for me. So that
Fantastic.
was a good book to read.
Yeah. Does money change you?
Um, no, I think it gives you, it enables you to do things that maybe you wouldn't be able to have done before. But I don't think it changes you as a person. You know, I still love a bargain. I love bargain hunting. I love finding things, you know, cheap and thinking, yeah, I've got a really good deal on that. I think that's kind of within. And I think if I had billions, I'd probably still do the same, because
Same.
that's the kind of person I am.
Same here. I like to negotiate. I like to get some
Yeah.
discount. I like to go bargaining. So yes, I do the same thing as well, to be honest. Does money make you happy?
No, I think what makes you happy is being in a good relationship, having good family around you. I know people with lots of money and they're really lonely. So no, I don't think it does make you happy. I think there's other more important things in life than money.
Yeah.
But it is a good vehicle in order to enable you to have a nice life, have nicer holidays, go to more places, visit different parts of the world. So it enables you to do things like that. But on a level where does it bring happiness within? No, I don't think it does.
Absolutely. Is there something you used to strongly believe you recently changed your mind on?
Strongly believe. Well, I guess I used to believe that, if you worked in a job really hard and saved and saved and saved, then you would do really well. But I think what I've learned is it's actually really important to invest money.
Yeah.
Not to have money in the bank sitting there doing nothing, to reinvest that money into something that can make more money. I think an older generation are more of, put money in the bank, save it, build up a nest egg. Those days are gone. It's just money depreciates. If you had 50,000 in the bank, how much would it be worth in 10 years' time? And a lot of people answered, 55,000, 58,000, all these different answers, an increased value of the original 50,000. And the actual answer was 37,000. And, a lot of people said, well, how is that? And he said, because of inflation, what you could buy with 50,000 10 years previous would be a lot less than what you could now. So it's actually worth less. Yeah, I think that's, that's something to factor in when someone's got money in the bank, not really making any money.
Absolutely. Is there something in the world you fundamentally think is wrong and you would like to change?
I think there's a lot wrong with the world. And we could talk all day, I think, about that. I guess it's, I think, poverty. I think in life, it seems like the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And I think they need to change from an early age in schools, rather than teach things that aren't really going to have a lot of benefit to children at a later age. They need to teach people about finance and money and borrowing and what's good debt and bad debt. I think that's a really important thing for people to learn. Yeah.
Wow. I totally agree with you on that. 100%, 100%.
Yeah, that needs to change, definitely.
Definitely. This podcast is called Property Investment Blueprint. What does Property Investment Blueprint means to you?
What does it mean? Well, I guess it is what it says on the tin. It's about, people that have invested and things that they have done, things that maybe you shouldn't do. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You've got me on that one. It could mean all number of things, I guess.
It's a roadmap, isn't it? For you to follow someone else's blueprint to ensure you reduce the mistakes and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Final one. If there was one person you'd love me to interview, who would that person be and why?
I would love Martin Lewis to be interviewed.
Right.
Because he talks a lot about savings and he talks a lot about savings and saving money and things like that, but he never talks about, what to do. He always talks about paying off your mortgage, and I would love to question him on those questions and whether that's a good idea. I've heard him a lot talk about, pay off your mortgage first and do this and do that. And I would love to sort of question the reasons why he thinks that.
Okay, good to know. Okay, I'll see if I can reach out to him. Hopefully we'll have him on board. I'd love to ask him that question as well, because I have a different perspective to actually what he's actually advising people on. But again, I think
I do too.
Yeah, he is going for the mass. Maybe he wants people to be safe and secure, things like that. Probably that's the reason why probably that's the angle he's looking at it at. But as an entrepreneur or investment side of things, we're looking at it in a different lens. So, but yeah, I'll definitely send him an invite. Hopefully, then fingers crossed, he would accept our invite. I've got lots of questions I would love to ask him as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what an amazing way to end. And that was a great special moment to you, especially sharing your life passion with us, the hiccups you've had along the way, and then the pleasant journey you're actually going through. Thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate that. Where should we follow you, and where are you hanging out in social media if someone wants to get in contact with you?
Well, they can message me on Messenger at Andrea Harber, spelled Harber, or email me at harborhomeslimited@gmail.com.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. So you said the messaging you, is that on Facebook or Instagram or
Facebook?
Yeah. Okay. Did you have an Instagram account or LinkedIn?
I do, but I don't tend to use it. I've never really had I don't really often go on there, to be honest. I'm more on Facebook. I'm a bit more old-fashioned.
Okay.
I probably should do more, but I don't. But we are in the process of setting up a new website. We've not done it yet because we want to put all our development photos on from our recent projects and things like that. So we're in the process of doing that at the moment. But yeah, we've not got the website up and running yet.
Fantastic. This has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your life passion with us. And I love what you're doing. I love what you represent. I love the energy. I love when you don't take negativity, why you transform negativity into positive, how you are literally thriving, growing, thinking about what you could achieve, literally loving every single day of your life. I really love you for that. So thank you so much for having taking the time to spend with us at the Property Investment Blueprint. So thank you so much. And I really, really appreciate you.
No, thank you. And thanks for reaching out to me. It's it's a privilege to go on your channel and just kind of talk about what I've been doing. That's been really nice.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.